Hello, everybody. Welcome to X on F1, also known as Formula One Column Africa. My name is Ashfes Oluwadamilare. I'm a mechanic. Let's go. In this episode, we're trying to look at some part of what went down in Australia on Sunday. That was the third race of the season, and a lot of things went down there. And I want us to catch up with some of the teams made and where we are in F1 today. Let's talk about the Hamilton-Verstappen rivalry revisited. Now, if you look at the race, if you compare the dominance of Hamilton from 2014 to 21, you would see that many times he doesn't take risk except for his teammates. And those times he raced Max Verstappen, especially in 2021, he tries not to take risk, even when Max Verstappen will run him over, run him out of the track and all those things. But now, that was because Hamilton was having a faster car then, so he believes, whatever happens, he will still make up for it. But we are seeing a reverse role in 2023. Verstappen is having a faster car, Hamilton is having a very slow car, and we can see how Verstappen is handling the issue. Rather, Verstappen will take his time because Hamilton has nothing to lose. He knows possibly he cannot win the championship this year except a miracle. Because a miracle happens or something happens to Sergio Perez or to Max Verstappen. He might still overtake Fernando Alonso. It depends on how the Mercedes gains come up. But if nothing happens to those guys up there, there's no guarantee he's winning championship in which he knows. So he can take risk. But Verstappen has no other chance to take a risk because he's leading the championship. So if they're taking a risk on Sunday, Hamilton will run him over. And that's the end of his race. And Hamilton would have easily won that race. Bingo. You understand? So, and now we can see a more calmer Verstappen and a more raging Hamilton. That is one. That's one of the things we've learned. And two, one of the things I saw on them, Verstappen still has a lot of weakness. And those weaknesses are still telling. One of his weaknesses I saw on Sunday is him starting a race. The first start of the race, that was the first lap. George Russell was second. George Russell was able to beat him to the line, to the first turning. And on the third turning, Hamilton was able to beat him to become second. When the race was restarted, same thing happened. It was slow to pick up until lap 56 when the race was finally restarted. He was able to hold off Hamilton. When you look at it, he said in his own post-race conference, he said he kept on improving. There are still lapses because a lot of those lapses showed in 2018, 19 and 2020. A lot of it showed last year, but because there were no proper competition, and also there's still gaps in Red Bull. It's still showing that Red Bull still have their weaknesses, and if other teams like Mercedes, Aston Martin can exploit Verstappen's weaknesses and Red Bull's weaknesses, we can see in their powertrain, the transmission majorly, drive shaft and their brake. We can see Sergio Perez having issues with his brake all through on Saturday. It improved on Sunday, but that transmission tapping failing is still there on both cars. So I feel there's still some weaknesses in the Red Bull. Now, we can see that McLaren are failing. They're having serious aerodynamic problems, and the drivers are the one compensating for it. Those drivers, Oscar Piastri, I doff my hat for him, and Lando Norris are really giving their hearts out. They are driving a hell out of that car to keep that car in a competition. Like I've always said, moving to Red Bull powertrain is not the solution to their problem. They need to solve their own internal problem because if the weakest team on the grid, which is Williams, can be churning out points with that car, with the Mercedes powertrain, and Aston Martin is doing fantastically well with that powertrain, I believe they can do better, and they need to turn it up. They need to look for their own weaknesses and do something about it. Also, there are lots of improvement I believe Australian Grand Prix organizers need to do. They need a lot of improvement. They need to work their asses out to make sure they are able to increase some of the barriers in the stadium, and also fan protection and also the team protection to be able to curb the way the fans rush towards the team at the end of the race so that there won't be much more damage. I think Australian Grand Prix organizers should do much on that. One of the most interesting things I saw is that Ferrari has found new ways to complement for their heroes. They have brought comedy, they have brought ego, they have brought so much graffiti into their heroes. We can see the two cars having DNF in Melbourne. That is appalling. From engine change, a lot of power changes, a lot of mistakes in their calls last season, this season. Now they're having two DNFs. Some of their problems are coming from the team. Now we're having problems also coming from the drivers. That is terrible for them, and I think they need to work that out to make sure they get back on track and fix their problems. They need to put themselves in order. Now, let's talk about Mercedes. George Russell lost his engine on Sunday during the race. Now, aside from that, I think Mercedes found a way to improve their car in Melbourne. Of all the errors, of all the mistakes carried over from W13 to the W14, and from what they've learned last year, I think second and third race, they've tried to improve the car without bringing up much upgrades. They didn't bring any upgrade to Melbourne. They were able to make a lot of changes, build their setup changes around the floor of the car and the front wings of the car, which gave them much improvement. And this shows that if they can get that, they can bring more upgrades that are better to drive them forward and be closer to the top teams, we believe. Except they are bringing upgrades that are loaded with error. I believe they can bring good upgrades. They are going to be closer to the top teams. Meanwhile, the Red Bull, with that DRS to talk about, that Red Bull is fast. I can tell you that Red Bull is very, very fast. You know what that is? That is a problem. Looking at the Red Bull, we're not looking at the engine alone. We are not looking at, even if they are cheating or whatever, which I don't believe they will cheat this season. They've had their issues which they cost cap last season, so they won't want to do anything that will compromise their season with the penalties they have in the season. So I think they want to do about that. Car is a well-built car that will open us its DRS and have a 32 to 36 kilometers advantage in DRS over any other car on that grid. The Red Bull has done a very good job, a perfect job for that car. And like I said yesterday, it will be very difficult for any car to close up on the grid. Now, to the Mercedes I was talking about, Mercedes needs to look into their engine. They are one of the most reliable teams in F1. For the past 10-12 years, they are the most reliable team in F1 with their powertrain blowing up in the third race means they need to look into their powertrain and to look at what really went wrong. Is it that they overtuned or they increased the power of the engine to complement for their drag? Maybe that was why they lost the engine, because other teams, 3 other teams using the Mercedes powertrain never had issues. I'm talking about the McLaren, the Aston Martin, and the Williams. They never had that issue, so they need to look at that. And talking about the Williams, the Williams drove very well, and one of the fundamental things the Williams has is their straight line speed. They've had that straight line speed for a long time, but it shows this season, I think, with a lot of improvements they've brought in. They have a very good straight line speed that competes with the Red Bull. Their straight line speed, that's the least team on the grid and the first team on the grid that are having straight line speed that compete with each other, which means that car needs just some little upgrades to deliver consecutive points for that team. And I think if they do have their upgrade, they're going to do well. And also, Rookit, which was a former sponsor for the Williams team, is suing the Williams team that they promised them they were going to give them a very good car in, I think, 2020 or 2021, one of those years, but they refused to give them a good car. So they are suing them to a tune of $145 million in an American court. And that will be strange, because I'm looking at how Rookit will feel if the lawyers of Williams comes in and say, hey, hello, that is 2 or 3 years ago. We said we are going to give you a championship or a very good car that would get points, and we refused to make any points. That was not due to our own doing. We built a very good car, but the car was not racy. You can see they will use Mercedes as an example. Mercedes has been topping in F1 for the past, how many years, like 8 years, and now they are coming to 2022 and 2023 with a car they believe will win championship, and the car is not winning championship. So what do? There's nothing they can do. That will be their excuse. So who does that help? I think that is what they will be coming with. Their lawyers will be coming with that. They brought a car, and every other competitor brought their own cars that will do well, and they probably did well than them. Their cars were. So they've only built a car to win championship, and others built the same car, their own cars, to win championship. This is not Formula E, in which all the chassis are the same. They have their right to just, I think, Rookit should have a meeting with them and consider a lot of things so that they can have a way forward. Also, we still need to give it to Alonso. Alonso has driven great this year. 3 races, 3 podiums, which has given Aston Martin like 10 points over the accumulated points they had last season in 3 races. They've had 65 points, and the whole of last season they had 55 points. Kudos to Aston Martin. Kudos to Fernando Alonso for doing a great job there. Hülkenberg coming back to F1 after 2 seasons has shown that he still got it. Came back to F1 and he keeps Kevin Magnussen behind himself in practices, in the race, and he lost out in points due to the whole brouhaha, red flags, and whatever brouhaha that happened in Australia on Sunday. I think he would have done better. He would have brought good points to the team, which was Hulkenberg still got it. Let's talk about Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, the two French drivers driving for the French team, Alpine. What a race for them. They were in good points before they both crashed into each other and put themselves out to end the race. The Alpine has shown it has really improved. It has really developed. They are going to be in the midfield, maybe possibly fifth position this season, but with that mishap in the race, we will not count them out. I believe they will still do well. And if you look at the development of Alpine, you see the chassis has really been worked on, especially the front wings, the rear wings, and the floor has really been updated, and they are doing well to make sure their car is very, very competitive this season. And I believe doing more for them, they are bringing their blue and pink car in 4 weeks' time. That's at the end of this month. The race in China has been cancelled because of ongoing issue between China, F1, Russia, and Ukraine. If you're a builder, if you're an art collector, if you have a showroom, Rated is the best place to get the artworks you need for your new buildings, for your art collections, for your showroom, for your exhibition. Rated Art have one of the best murals, mosaic works, and different art patterns in Nigeria presently. And it's somebody that you can communicate with, talks to you, you tell him what you want, and he will bring the reality out for you. To contact Rated Art, his number is right up here, and you can also go on social media links that are pasted right up here. So check out some of his works. Thank you. Teams Gadget. Teams Gadget is for those of you that cannot easily go to the market to get your phones, your laptops, your accessories. Just place a call through. His phone number is there. It gets you the best. It's your shop plug to get you the best phones, accessories, laptops, games, and other accessories for your computer gaming experience. Contact Teams Gadget and you get them for you. So Mercedes will bring some upgrades, I believe, and Mercedes bringing upgrade, we believe they should be at least 2 or 3 tenths closer to the Red Bull of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Talking about the Red Bull of Sergio Perez, Sergio drove a beautiful race on Sunday, coming from 20th to finish 5th in the race. That was a great driving. Through all the accidents, the red flags, the yellow flag, he was able to pull out a beautiful race out of that car, a car that gave him problem on Saturday. And like I said, Sergio Perez needs to look inward and look at himself and quickly look at where he wants to be. Does he really want to be with Red Bull? It will be difficult for him to understand. And I think he needs to look back at the issues Daniel Ricciardo has with Red Bull before he left, and I think he should look at his future in Red Bull and consider it, because this is his last season and his contract has not been renewed yet. So he needs to look at himself to know where he stands, and if there's no possibility of winning the championship in Red Bull, it doesn't matter. There was no possibility of Bottas winning the championship in Mercedes. When he was asked, he moved to Alfa Romeo, in which he knows he's not going to win the championship, but he will enjoy racing. It's just like somebody that a wife that the husband beat or molested. Immediately sees an opportunity to live. An opportunity to live is to live her life. That'll be beaten. She will run away and get the best. It's not about getting another relationship for her. It's all about just staying alive. So I think Bottas' decision just to stay alive, just to stay happy with himself racing, not winning races, because he knows Alfa Romeo will not be winning any race even till he leaves. So I believe that was why he moved to Alfa Romeo. So Sergio Perez should consider his position and his stand in Red Bull to know what he's going to do with himself. That is all for today. If there are other videos or other things we need to analyze, we still need to analyze development of the Mercedes, the growth, and what we still think they can develop and bring to the table to make that car faster and close that gap in the space of the 6 to 7 races they talk about, and that will be the 4th race going to Baku. Thank you. We love you. Keep watching our video. Keep subscribing. Keep sharing. Send your comment. Let us answer your questions. And very soon, some of the questions you asked will be answered in our shorts. We want to start getting ready to see our shorts. Ask us questions about Formula 1, Formula E. We'll answer you. If you want it to be thrown up and seen in our shorts, tell us. We will put it in our shorts. Thank you. At Exxon F1, our main aim is to bring you the knowledge of Formula 1, educate you, bring you the races, how it goes down, help you to understand it more. On our shorts, you'll be seeing some educational terminologies and words that are used during the race that you might not understand. And our long goal is to bring a Formula 1 race to Africa, possibly Nigeria, and also to educate people and to help in the knowledge transfer of getting Nigerian into some part of Formula One, the racing, which will take a long time because we need to have good karting category to challenge, to get drivers from the karting categories into the small formulas, the Renault formulas, Formula 4, other formulas, because before we can get a driver to Formula 1. That might take a long time, but that is our goal. Be the bridge to help people realize their dream in Formula 1. Some people may not even know that is where they are meant to be, but our own main aim is to help them to navigate and realize that goal, and also to help people to grow in the engineering, the other administrative aspect of the game. If possibly a billionaire in Nigeria will want to buy a team in Formula One or be one of the sponsors, so that they can see that we have the quality hand that will do it, which will also help in aiding how engineers develop as a nation. Because with young people, young graduates or young entrepreneur, young engineers learning the engineering of Formula One, the CFD, the fluid dynamics, and all the parts of Formula One, we'll find ourselves growing in car development, because the cars you see today, most of the technologies are well tested in Formula One before they become today's technology. And if you have people there, it will help our technical know-how to build good mechanics, good engineers, and it also promotes the revenue generation for a nation. It's part of our dream to bring karting, to bring this race to Nigeria and to Africa also, and to help a young African to realize his dream, not just in Formula One, but being an engineer and being part of this world. It will also create a lot of employment for a lot of people, and this will take a lot of people out of the street. That is our main aim. That is why we have this channel. If there's a way you can support, we'd love you to come on board, work with us. I would love to work with you. Thank you.